Good point, and we don't tend to think of ourselves as animals, but we are. I mean, we are very complex and fortunate animals that we have the most use of this avatar. I call it this body, right? That we can move around and really do miraculous things, and we have the gift of consciousness and communication. But we are animals, and we live and behave many times like animals, not so much like the ideal human in society, right? But we tend to separate ourselves from, and this is kind of the civil, I won't go into this rant too much, but this is like the idea of indigenous humans or uneducated humans, right? The wild humans, right? Living in wild plant environments, uncivilized, right? And then we go to civilization and we're sitting on our porcelain thrones having all kinds of issues that these so-called uneducated
savages.
Thank you, that was the word I was looking for.
They're more connected, those people.
Yeah, they were more connected.
Nature.
They said less, got more done. They had proper bowel movements. I mean, there you go. You got the whole thing covered right there, really. So that's an important distinction. Actually, just since I brought that up real quick, the power in living food, and I'm not saying, when I say living food, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need to convert your diet to entirely living food, but I'm bringing that principle up because it's a blueprint for all natural diets. The power of what's happening in the diet world, just a quick side note on this, what's happening is there's a million different diets out there, right? We've all been through the whole rigmarole of this diet and that diet and repackage this into the same assortment of these 10 foods and recongeal it into low fat, high carb, high fat, whatever. So, I mean, most of it, 99% of it's the same thing, just refigured and reconstituted for this flavor of the month, right? Most of that. But then there is a side section of diets that are getting a lot of attention. And not that I agree with all of them, or most of them entirely, but there is something to know. The ones that are successful are the ones that are calling us to return to nature, that are talking about whole foods, that are talking about plant foods, that are talking about incorporating raw organic living foods, superfoods, incorporating herbalism into our diet, incorporating water. Like, that's amazing right there, that we even have to talk about water. Right, and that's a whole subject on its own. So, as you're trying to navigate through this, my tidbit is that when you get into the diets that are plant rich, the benefit of it, is it has all the cleansing mechanisms, like fiber, for example, that actually pull things through. One of the reasons people get stuck up is because they don't have enough fiber. Really, the fiberless diet fiber is basically liquid plumber. In that case, right? That's what we're talking about. They help reconnect us to nature. And I know that for a fact because I know not almost everyone, but I know most of the major raw foodists out there. Some of them are my close friends, and they all have the same experience. And I have the same experience where I was a city dweller to the fullest, had very few interactions other than the few camping trips I did when I was a kid and somehow forgot about. And spent most of my time in a gym, in a car, in a city, and in a bedroom. Right? Those are like in a kitchen at times, or someone else's kitchen. Those are the main areas of the world I occupied. Then I got into living foods. I cleansed my body. I started to learn about energy, right? The vital energetics of my body, and I started to feel something else come through me. And then 5-6 years later, I'm sitting up here in Hawaii with my life completely dedicated to educating people on the magic of natural food. Anyways, if we're talking about weight loss, there's no better way to lose weight the quickest and safest and get back into your proper balance than living food, specifically green vegetable juicing and a wide variety of green vegetables, and changing over whatever kind of fats that you're currently doing, whether that's animal fat, that's dairy from cows. Usually it's coming in the form of pasteurized, homogenized, antibioticized, pesticide sprayed, pus filled, tap water, soaked milk. right? That's most of what's out there, what most people are drinking. And that stuff right there will slap weight on you like nobody's business. If you're looking to gain weight, there's probably no better way than milk products, dairy products. That will slap weight on a baby calf better than anything. In fact, that's what it does, right? So as soon as you start to actually eliminate that stuff from your diet and you replace it with its natural substitute, let's say, for example, you've been eating meat all your life, right? And you want to get off that stuff for a while. You've been eating cheese. That's the big one. Like, meat actually isn't even that big of a deal for most people that when they're transitioning. It's always like, okay, we're getting off the meat, we're getting off the fish, then we start to move down the layers, we get off the milk, and then eventually it's like the last thing to go is always, they're a huge roadblock in the success of your goal, whether that be weight loss, whether that just be clarity of mind. Most of the ADD, ADHD that you see in children, my strong suspicion, or let's just call it a conviction, is most of it is due to actually food allergies. And I've seen this actually, they've done this in studies where they take kids off, they're either the soy, the refined sugar, the refined flour, the wheat, the gluten, and the dairy products. And then all of a sudden, the kids are like paying attention in class, behavioral issues are down, they're getting better scores on their grades, whatever. Like everything just clicks back in.